Welcome to Whatever You Need. If you appreciate thorough, unflinching examinations of celebrity moments that ripple through the public consciousness, make sure to like, subscribe, and consider supporting the channel by clicking the join button. Your engagement helps us continue bringing these stories to light. Last night's premiere for The Eighth Family was organized with all the expected panache. An expansive red carpet, meticulous lighting, and an assemblage of the nation's cinematic luminaries. What might have been an evening devoted exclusively to sartorial critique and praise for an eagerly awaited film instead evolved into something more indicative of the modern celebrity ecosystem, an arena where the slightest positional shift can be reframed as strategy, and where public interpretation often outpaces the reality of intention. Veteran actors stood beside emergent stars. The contrast, both visual and tonal, illustrated the industry's layered geography of seniority, ambition, and public perception. Yet, as countless images and short video clips circulated across platforms, it became clear that the night's most enduring narrative would not be about the film itself but about the interpersonal dynamics that the cameras, willingly or not, documented. From the outset, the ceremony provided material that would invite scrutiny. Seasoned performers lending an aura of gravitas, younger artists radiating assuredness, and ensembles coordinating appearances with that practiced choreography familiar to anyone who observes the media circuit. In particular, a brief sequence involving two widely recognized actresses drew attention: an almost imperceptible forward step, a micro-adjustment in position, that, when repeated through the multiplier effect of screenshots and commentary, developed a life of its own. Such instances often sit at the crossroads of gesture and interpretation. What one frame captures as a physical movement can be narrated by others as the sign of an ulterior intention. That dialectic between gesture and narrative dominated the conversation well into the small hours. Into that charged atmosphere stepped Elçin Sangu, whose concise appraisal instantly became a focal point for both sympathy and scorn. Her message, succinct and pointed, articulated what many onlookers felt, but had not phrased so plainly. It was not merely the content of her remark that attracted attention, it was the context: a public figure, choosing to comment upon the visible calculus of another's comportment in a setting designed precisely for visibility. The reaction was immediate. Some applauded the candor, interpreting her lines as an incisive observation of a recurring performative dynamic. Others read it as an unnecessary escalation, a seasoned commentator amplifying a minor episode into headline fodder. When such a remark is launched into the social media atmosphere, the platform's native momentum takes over. Users reposted clips and still frames, layering them with captions and interpretations that ranged from the forensic to the sensational. Influencers, specializing in rapid analysis of celebrity visuals, spliced footage into slow-motion sequences, furnishing each frame with narrative overlays and commentary that often colored the event in ways unrelated to the original intent of the participants. Within hours, the conversation bifurcated. One stream insisted that the actress in question had engaged in deliberate positioning, the other insisted that the moment was incidental and undeserving of moralizing scrutiny. Both narratives, however, fed the same consumer appetite for clarity in a world where ambiguity is a structural reality. It is important to situate these reactions within broader mechanics. The press gala, by design, is a performative space. Actors, publicists, stylists, and photographers participate in an implicit contract. Stars will provide visually compelling tableaus, photographers will distribute those images widely, and outlets will accelerate the images into stories. Within that economy, the very notion of authentic moment becomes contested. A movement toward the camera can simultaneously be a logistical effort to find light, a protective step away from an intrusive lens, or an attempt to compose oneself for a preferred angle. That multiplicity of possible readings creates fertile ground for interpretation, especially when someone with visibility offers an interpretive frame. What intensified the debate, beyond the initial remark itself, was a subsequent statement that implied a broader pattern of behavior. The commentator suggested that backstage dynamics and in-room maneuvers had been visible to those who were present, hinting at a layer of reality the cameras had not fully captured. That implication functioned as an accelerant. By suggesting there was more to the evening than the images alone conveyed, it reoriented the public conversation from a single frame to an entire alleged backstage culture. Supporters of the commentator praised the framing as courageous transparency. Detractors accused her of fomenting gossip and of destabilizing collegial relationships for the sake of spectacle. Public reaction, predictably, was diverse. Some social media users aligned with the commentator's viewpoint, citing previous moments in which celebrities had vied conspicuously for attention. Others challenged the premise entirely, arguing that the existence of competition on camera does not necessarily equate to malice. Numerous posts pointed out the structural incentives that encourage visible gestures of prominence. Awards, press cycles, and the architecture of publicity can produce incentives to stand out. In short, what many observed as interpersonal friction can also be read as a symptom of a system that rewards visibility above all. Another notable voice entered the discussion, an established actor whose offhand observation carried its own weight. His remark, which observers described as disarming in its simplicity, suggested that the behavior in question was consistent with a public persona that the actress had cultivated over time. The comment served two functions simultaneously. It normalized the observed action within a pattern of past behavior, yet it also renewed interest in the initial controversy by representing it through the lens of long-term reputation. His interjection demonstrates how a single line from a prominent figure can redraw the conversation's contours, turning a momentary movement into a biographical clue, and by extension, a matter of interpretive consequence. It is worth noting that outside of the central controversy, other aspects of the evening were warmly remarked upon. Senior performers expressed collegiality, emerging talents displayed grace under pressure, and a general air of conviviality pervaded many interactions that did not make headlines. Those more mundane exchanges remind us that a gala night contains multitudes. While a single contested gesture may dominate the discourse, it does not exhaust the event's human texture. The interplay between headline and background is instructive. The most photographed moments become the most narrativized, while quieter acts of professional camaraderie tend to be marginal to the viral economy. For cultural analysts and for casual observers alike, the episode raises larger questions about celebrity, authenticity, and the media's appetite for conflict. When are gestures legitimately newsworthy? When do observers cross the line from interpretation into imposition? There is no clear boundary separating performance from personality. Rather, there is a porous zone where presentation, perception, and projection meet. In that space, social media accelerates impressions into convictions, compelling both fans and detractors to select sides. The result is often an intensely public debate about intentions that, by their nature, remain private. As the dust settles, or at least as the volume of immediate commentary begins to wane, the industry must reconcile the benefits and drawbacks of its public rituals. There is value in the exposure a well-attended premiere provides for a film, but there is also potential cost when ephemeral gestures are transformed into protracted controversies. Publicists and artists alike must decide where they draw lines between performative visibility and personal boundaries. Meanwhile, audiences might ask themselves what they seek when they watch such exchanges. Is it entertainment, moral judgment, or simply the thrill of witnessing the mechanics of fame? We want to hear from our audience, Do these red carpet moments reflect genuine interpersonal tensions, or are they inevitable byproducts of a publicity-driven culture? Share your perspective in the comments and tell us which celebrities you would like covered next on Whatever You Need. Your insights matter, they shape how we interpret what we watch. Thank you for joining our detailed unpacking of the Eighth Family premiere. If you found this narrative illuminating, please like, share, and subscribe to Whatever You Need. Consider supporting us with the join button to help us produce more in-depth coverage. Don't forget to leave your thoughts below. Who do you think acted with intention, and who was simply a subject of the camera's gaze? Until next time, keep questioning the story behind the image.